Hi, I'm Hannah, and here I am today to share a testimony of how God has been working in my life. I grew up in church. I'm a pastor's kid, but does that mean that my life was smooth sailing? No. I was part of a small Filipino community church, and my dad served there as the music pastor. I first grew up here in the US, but my parents decided to raise us in the Philippines. So we flew there to the Philippines when I was 10 years old. I was there for a pretty long time. Well, when I was young, I wouldn't say that I would really understood how it was to be a Christian. I remember that my values teacher asked me, "Are you sure that you're going to heaven?" And when I said I wasn't sure, I think that was the time that I really came to know and I was really serious about my personal relationship with Christ. She led me to pray the prayer of salvation. So I may have grown up with Christian values taught to me, but we had a lot of challenges in my family. And I would say that my life can possibly be a good TV drama. Well, I grew up as well with my mom having bipolar disorder. And if I'm correct, I know that that was one of the reasons why we moved to the Philippines. I remember my dad telling me that because we had a lot of social workers taking us away from my parents because of my mom's bipolar condition, they would think that my dad was not capable of taking care of us. They decided to bring us to the Philippines so that we could, social workers could just leave us alone. Her getting mad was something that was very common in the house, especially to my dad. That's one thing that challenged us. We also had a lot of problems in my mom's side of the family. Her side of the family weren't Christians, and so there were a lot of problems related to money, greed, crime, gambling, things like those. And I didn't have a lot of good memories with that. And because of all this drama, sometimes my mom would go crazy. And it would come to a point where she would have to go to the hospital. I never shared this part of my life to my friends when I was younger. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I just wanted to be accepted by my friends. When you're a teenager, you just feel like you're supposed to have a somewhat perfect life so that you'd be accepted by your peers. And so but the thing is that I was always quiet. I'm glad that I was partly parented by my church. And it was actually through my mom that we found a church we could commit to for a long time. Church became an extended family to me. It was my escape from everything that was going on in my family. I was part of the youth leaders. I was always in youth camps. I was always in church when I wasn't at school. In the process of me escaping from my reality, I would say that I still continued to grow in the knowledge of God. I had great mentors when I was growing up in church. They were the ones who actually knew more about my family problems. And it was actually in college that I started to blossom. I found out when I was in college that it was okay to share your struggles. It was okay not to be perfect. And with that, it helped me become more open and it helped me become more like myself. So I discovered that being a dork isn't a bad thing. As I was becoming more open about myself, I think the Lord also used that as the time to introduce my then boyfriend and now husband. So that's another thing that I can share about one day. The ultimate challenge of my life was when my dad had a really bad stroke. Before that stroke happened, my dad was the anchor of our family. He was the one who really loved my mom. I can't imagine if it was anyone else who married my mom. I don't think that they would stay for this long. My dad just had this commitment to my mom, and for him, the last thing he would do is to get a divorce or separate from her. He was the one taking care of me, of my brother, and of my mom. And I was having normal my normal life where I could serve at church, I could do what I wanted, I could go out with my friends. When my dad had a stroke, everything just went upside down. He was at the hospital for 3 weeks. I remember when we were there, my brother would say, he would be praying to God and he would say, Lord, if you're going to take my dad, then go and take him because this is just too painful. But um, God was good to us. Well, He spared my dad's life. My dad's a real fighter, I would say. And when we came home, he was always attended by nurses. So for a bit, my mom was the one who took care of everything. But at a certain point, because she was bipolar, she couldn't handle it anymore. The transferring of my dad's burden in this family has turned into my burden because my mom didn't have my dad to depend on anymore. She had to have someone to depend on because if she knew that she was fully responsible for everything and everyone, then she would lose it again. And so for a while, my brother tried to do it. He was my younger brother, by the way. When I got married, he was the one taking care of my parents. And I would try to help the family once a week. I would be there in my family's house, even when I was married. And I tried to help out. But because my brother was so young, he would be very depressed. He would be lonely because he didn't know how to fix the situation. He didn't know how to help my parents as well. And so whenever my I would come and visit my parents, he would say, "I need your help, ate," or older sister. And so I didn't know how else to help because I knew that I had to be with my husband. And so this was the point where I felt that it was time to go back to the US. My relatives, that would be my dad's side, were here in the US that time, and they said, it actually might be a good idea to come here to the US, to come back to the US. And so that's another long story. Well, everything just fell into place for us to go back here to the US. And all of those also had their own challenges. With my dad's condition, it would be hard to bring him to the airplane or put him on the airplane. He would be business class and all of that stuff. But somehow, I would say that it was God's miracle that we were able to come back here to the US. My husband and I had plans to just come here to the US to help my parents settle and everything so that they can go to possibly a nursing facility, or my relatives would be there to take care of them. And then we would be going back to the Philippines because we had a life there for ourselves. But when I found out that I don't think that they'll be taken care of as well as I thought, then I said, okay, so I think we have to be here. for long term. That's what I'm doing until now. On November, it's going to be 5 years since we decided to come back, since we stayed here in the US. And praise God, because in every young person's heart, we have the desire to excel in our careers. And that's something that I had to let go of, at least for now. Okay, so I would say that my parents being alive, somehow being able to serve them as much as they have helped me grow and develop into the person that I am, is a privilege. I would say that taking care of my parents has helped me in my Christian walk because it's not easy. It reminds me of what Jesus did for us. God sent his son, Jesus, to earth to die for our sins. But while he was here on earth, he did ministry. He helped people, he healed people, and to be able to humble himself like that, it makes me humbled as well. And so here I am. I continue to serve my parents. Well, my mom now, besides having bipolar disorder, she also has a problem with her nerves, and it causes her to have a hard time walking. And so, with all of these physical disabilities that my parents have, I would say that someone has to take care of them. And well, here I am, and God continues to give me the burden to help them out and to take care of them. And with that, well, my husband works full time out of the home. And thank God, because we've never gone hungry. We're always provided for, we're able to pay our bills. And I would say that that itself is something to be thankful for. So I'm happy to be able to serve in a church, a small church, and I'm able to help disciple and mentor people in the younger generation. That's truly something that I'm joyful in doing. And well, I'll just say this in closing that I'm sure every one of us has their own stories. This is my story. Thinking about it as I speak to you right now, if you're going through anything with your family, if you're also in the same situation where I am, where you have to take care of your parents, or maybe you're just your mom or your dad, or maybe a brother or sister, God has a plan for you. My life verse is, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." I know that that's a verse that was addressed to the Israelites when during the time of the Babylonian Empire. But then somehow I know that that verse, Jeremiah 29:11, can still apply to us. We can say that God has plans for us, and even if we feel like the things that we're going through are hard and too painful, we just know that God cares for us. He has plans for us. And right now, I would say that the Lord is really working in my own character. And I am excited and also scared, but more excited about what God is going to be doing in my life in the future. Maybe now I might not be able to do the things that I want, but I am where I need. I know that I know that God is using these circumstances of my family so that I can be more like Christ, so that can become more patient, so that I have time to minister in the church where I serve. And it's really a joy. Right now, I see this as an opportunity to minister. I hope that you would be blessed. I really want to share more things about my life and about what I've been learning through the Bible with all of you. I hope that you'll stay tuned for the coming episodes. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you around.